There was once a rich man who lived happily in Ntwari. The man owned a large herd of healthy cattle that dotted his swath of land that extended from Muvumba River to Rusumo Falls. The fertile land produced a variety of crops that were exported to neighboring Karagwe, Burundi and Bugesera. He married a beautiful young woman, and soon after, the couple had a baby boy who added flavor to their already enjoyable life. They called him Mutindi. However, the wife could not give birth thereafter, and this brought frustration to the couple. The man's friends started mocking him, claiming that he was not useful to the country since his household could not provide enough men to defend the nation in case of any invasion. So they advised him to marry another wife, which he did. The man's second wife gave birth to many boys, and soon, all his attention turned towards her. The man had no time for his first wife and her only son. One day, his first wife told him, "I know that our nation needs many young men to protect it. This is as true as I am your wife while Mutindi remains your son. Listen, woman, you have failed me. A real wife must be a mother of many boys," replied her husband. From that time onwards, she accepted her situation as a rejected wife but decided to stay. For the sake of her son, her husband never paid her any visit. Meanwhile, the mother of many boys was given anything she wanted while her sons underwent intensive military training at the king's palace in which they excelled. The man started enjoying a remarkable recognition from his colleagues for being an exemplary citizen while his first wife lived in total neglect. When Mutindi grew up, he went to work for his stepbrothers who always mistreated him. They had accepted to employ him on condition that he would never tell anybody that he was their brother. Soon, their father grew very old and thought that it was time to give them their inheritance. He called all of them, including his first wife's son. When they had gathered, he allocated all his wealth to the second wife's sons. Then he turned to Mutindi, gave him his walking stick and said, "Son of the neglected mother, this is your inheritance." All his stepbrothers burst into laughter. This hurt Mutindi so much that he broke down and started crying. His father pulled him aside, held him gently and told him, "My son, your inheritance is in this stick and Bugendwa, the secret well. Before you get married, go with this stick to that secret well and claim your share." Mutindi's brothers continued mistreating him, but this did not hurt him as much as their mockery did, because sometimes they would even refer to his mother who was already subdued by her own miseries. On many occasions, they would make fun of him by asking him to milk his stick so that his mother could drink. Soon after, their father died. Mutindi ignored all the abuse and continued working diligently for his step-brothers. When he felt responsible enough to marry, he said goodbye to his mother who wished him good luck. He headed for the secret well. His journey started at the first cockcrow. By noon, he could see the imposing Nyarupfubaya hill far behind him. By evening, the same hill looked like an ant hill. He felt very tired. Where is the secret well? How far is it from here? How long will it take me to get there? These questions preoccupied his mind throughout the journey. Sometimes, he was surprised by the distance he had covered. Whenever he looked back, he thought that it was enough for that day. In those days, it was part of Rwandan culture to welcome strangers and offer them food and accommodation as well as any other assistance that such a visitor would require. All this would be done free of charge, and every citizen had to fulfill this duty. This made Mutindi feel safe. Despite the fact that it was getting dark, Mutindi looked back again. On the horizon, Lake Ihima looked like a tiny pond. He marveled at how such a big lake could suddenly become a pond. He asked himself what had become of the huge hippos that lived in it. He thought that they had obviously become insects. "Phew," he exclaimed, "they will no longer be able to damage my beans. Whenever the harvest time approaches, they come to feast on my crops, as if I work for hippos," recalled Mutindi in disgust. The nearest homestead belonged to an old woman who had no children. He went in and was welcomed. The old woman asked him the purpose of his journey, of which Mutindi explained to her satisfaction. She offered him some food and showed him where to sleep. In the morning, she gave him some packed food to eat on the way and wished him good luck. During the journey, his brother's cattle keepers teased him. Others offered him milk and asked where he was going. He could hear some of them saying that he was going to commit suicide at Rusumo Falls. Mutindi heard everything but ignored all of them and simply went on. The evening found him at the chief's homestead, where he was warmly welcomed and offered accommodation in accordance to Rwanda's customs. The following morning, Mutindi started off early enough and passed through maize, bean and millet fields. It was harvest time. He marveled at how the crops had done well that season as he approached a group of young girls who were harvesting millet. He greeted them and asked them where and how far Bagendwa well was. The girls directed him and he followed their instructions. Toward sunset, he noticed that the footpath he was following led to a thick forest. A concerned woman nearby wondered what the young man was going to do in that forest. She got worried because she knew that it was dangerous, especially at that unusual time. She asked him where he was going and what he was going to do. Mutindi explained everything and the woman let him enter the thick forest. The forest was dark and dense. Occasionally, he could see a group of wild animals playing in front of him and blocking his way. He would wait patiently, and once they had gone, he would continue. Then, all of a sudden, he heard a very deep voice calling him by his name. He was baffled. The voice called him again. He started trembling with fear. Then the voice told him, "Do not worry, Mutindi, just tell me where you are coming from and where you are going. I will help you." Then Mutindi explained everything to the voice. "I see," the voice replied. "You are almost there. However, I would advise you to stay here till morning so that you may not have to walk in the forest during the night. I will keep a watch on you." Mutindi obliged as the voice continued. "There is a big snake which must drink water from this well. There is also a stone in the middle of that well. When you reach there, go straight to the stone and sit on it. When the snake arrives, let it drink water and swim. It will then come to you and toss you up in the air and catch you before you fall into the well. Do not be afraid. Once it has done that, you also hold it, toss it in the air and wait for its instructions. You must follow everything it will tell you." The following morning, he reached the well at sunrise. He noticed the stone in the middle of the well. He went and sat on it. He was daydreaming when a sizzling sound attracted his attention. He looked in the direction where the sound was coming from, and behold, a giant snake quickly emerged, dived into the well and splashed water all over the terrified young man. It drank water and started swimming. Sometimes, it would keep its tail in the water and spin the rest of its body in the air. It would then repeat the same exercise with its head or tail in the water at regular intervals. The more the snake applied its acrobatic skills, the more Mutindi got terrified. He was about to take off when the snake grabbed him with its tail and threw him 10 meters in the air. He came down headfirst, but the snake held him and tossed him up again and left him fall into the water. It was Mutindi's turn to toss the snake in the air. He grabbed it and hurled it above himself, caught it mid-air and tossed it again before catching it and gently placing it on the very stone he had been sitting on. Then the snake looked at him and said, "You are the luckiest and the richest man on this land from now onwards. You will be blessed with many children and property. Just pick up your stick and go back. As you go, many large herds of cattle and their herdsmen will follow you. They will all be yours. Remember to follow the same way that brought you here. Give a young cow to the girls whom you found harvesting millet and a young bull to the chief who gave you accommodation." The snake paused and then asked, "Do you remember the old woman who gave you accommodation on the first day?" Mutindi timidly nodded as the snake continued, "You will stay with her and treat her like your mother. Let your own mother live with the old woman. All your stepbrothers will henceforth pledge allegiance to you and you will be their leader." Mutindi picked up his stick and everything became as the snake had said. On seeing Mutindi leading home such big herds of cattle, everybody cheered him all the way, shouting, "Welcome home, hero of Umutara." Except Mutindi, who never forgot that he was named so by his father. Nobody else dared to call him by that name because, from that day, no other name befitted him except Ntwari.